Good afternoon, welcome to NMS. Let's talk about weak body parts. And I'm going to talk to you about it from a point of view that's something you probably never even thought of. Now, there's reasons that a body part can be weak, but sometimes that weakness might actually be the structure of that body part. Now, when I say weak in structure, I mean that, if you've got shorter muscle bellies in your different body parts, I have short biceps, okay, so there's a big gap between the forearm and the bicep. There really isn't anything that you can do about that. And especially when you're wearing a t-shirt, your arms are going to look like they're a lot smaller than they are because they're going to disappear up into your shirt. Because they're short, the muscle bellies don't go a long way down. Now, there's been a lot of bodybuilders over the years who have these genetically very long muscle bellies. And some of them are just unbelievable in the length of the muscle bellies and the size difference that they appear to have, even though they're not actually bigger than most other guys. Now, Mr. Olympia Phil Heath, back in the, I think he won between 2011 and 2017. He had the fullest muscle bellies you could ever imagine. The shoulders that went literally from the bone all the way down into where the tricep joined, and then the tricep went right down into the elbow, and the bicep went right down to the elbow, and the forearms were very long, so they went, his brachialis seemed to start halfway up his forearm. His lats went almost down into his hip, his quads went right down to his knees, and his calves were very long as well. So genetically speaking, he looked a lot bigger than a lot of guys. And yet he weighed less than most people, his height, and wasn't quite as big as them. He certainly wasn't as big as Kai Green, but he had these muscle bellies that just tended to make him look a lot bigger. Now, if you're a person that has very long muscle bellies, that's not a bad thing, but it just means that obviously as you grow, they're going to grow right down, let's say your arms into your elbows and your back right down into the hip. And when they do grow, they're going to seem a lot bigger, but in the beginning, it's going to seem like they're very long and very small, and they're not going to seem as big. It doesn't mean that they might be a weak body part. It just means that maybe because they're longer body parts, they don't seem to be as peaky as, let's say, a guy with shorter biceps. And, if you've got lats that are really, short lats, they're going to look a lot smaller than the guys that actually have long lats that go right down into their hips. So when you look at muscle bellies, sometimes the muscle belly length can actually be off-putting to the actual size of that muscle. Now, if you've also got very good genetics for building muscle and long muscle bellies, well, you're up there in terms of genetics. But if you've got shorter muscle bellies, you've really got to go and look at that muscle and think to yourself, am I genetically weaker in that muscle? All right. Or is there less muscle there and I need to go and work on that muscle in terms of improving the hypertrophy in that muscle? Because a lot of the time people go and say, oh, I have weak whatever body parts. And you're looking to go, it's not actually weak. It's just that obviously, for example, with your biceps, they're very short. So when you flex them, they look good. But when you don't flex them, they don't seem as big as someone like a Phil Heath. So keep in mind, guys, the muscle belly length sometimes can play huge mind games on whether that muscle belly is actually a weakness or it's just a short muscle belly. And if you have a look at some of the African American guys that compete, or African guys such as, for example, Andrew Jack, he has calves that are about this long, okay? Whereas if you look at Dorian Yates' calves, well, they went right down, halfway down his lower leg bone, and they flared out a lot more. Now, Dorian Yates had very good development in his calves, but it certainly was helped by the muscle belly lengths. So muscle belly lengths play a huge part in whether a muscle looks weaker or stronger. And if you're someone like me who's got big, long chest and a big, long shoulders that go right down into your that sort of blend in with your triceps, it's going to make your triceps and your biceps seem smaller by example. So just remember that, guys. Have a good afternoon. Like, comment, share, and I hope you got something out of this video.